take we made graphics for today, so we got
Okay, let's go.
All right, let's do it.
Interesting as it is.
Let's
So,
do it.
Bull,
Skip
start
me.
us off.
Just go right to Jason.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jason, it's on you then.
Well, since I couldn't figure out my internet last week when the Cavs traded for Donovan Mitchell, and I tried doing it for my car and froze, tried doing it for my house and froze. And
I enjoyed that text chain, by the way.
it was so embarrassing.
I could feel your pain.
So there's one thing I wanted to touch on. Obviously, this is my first time in since the Cavs traded for Donovan Mitchell. And there's only one piece to this that I want to illustrate because it's an interesting little situation the Cavs are going to run into in a couple years. In the NBA, they have a thing called the designated rookie extension. And basically, it allows teams one extra year to extend guys coming off their rookie deals. So you can get 5 years instead of 4. But only 2 guys are allowed to have this on the roster. They just gave one to Darius Garland, and they just traded for one in Donovan Mitchell. So what does that mean for Evan Mobley? Because at the rate he's going, at the pace he's progressing, it sure looks like Mobley's going to earn one of these types of contracts, and it's in the Cavs' best interest to sign him to a 5-year extension rather than a 4-year extension. Obviously, you get an extra year of control over this guy. So the first time that Evan Mobley becomes eligible for one of these contract extensions is the summer of 2024 after his 3rd year, just like with Darius this year. And there you see I put the hash line in. This is courtesy of SpotRack.com. But Donovan Mitchell still has 1 more year on his contract for the 24-25 season, so what do? The Cavs have a couple of options here. Number one, they could just offer Evan a 4-year deal, not the 5-year. They could offer him a 4-year deal in that summer of 2024. Obviously not ideal. You want to get him that 5th year. You could wait and kick the can down the road to his restricted year. There you see where Donovan Mitchell has a player option in 25-26. Let's play best case scenario here. Donovan Mitchell loves his time in Cleveland. He stays the 3 years, and he wants to stay longer. They tear up the current deal. They give him a new deal beginning in 25-26, and then Mobley, that opens a slot for that designated rookie extension. And as he enters restricted free agency, Evan can get that 5-year deal. He can go ahead and get that extra year. The problem with that is you're asking possibly your best player on the team 1 more year to wait for a mega deal. Now, he has no say in the matter. He's under team control, but it's not great for relations. The best outcome in all of this might be changing the CBA, which is not as outrageous as it sounds. The new CBA is coming, or the CBA expires in 2024, and there's already talk of abolishing this rule. A lot of teams don't like the rule because it hinders, they don't like the player empowerment, the player movement, all these guys moving around. And this is just another way to allow teams to hold on to their guys longer. So by doing it this way, by just waiting for the new CBA to come open and negotiations to begin, they very well may just abolish this rule, and it's something the Cavs don't even have to worry about. But it's just something I wanted to point out, something to highlight and illustrate. It's come up a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's not a reason not to make the Donovan Mitchell
trade. You love
trade
the
in
deal,
first
right?
place. I love the deal. I think it's a great deal. I think that 2029 pick, no one cares about it now. That could be a top 5
Yeah, they could
pick.
be crappy by then.
Yeah, they could be really bad by then. But you can't worry about that right now. You're going for it now. I think it's a great deal for the Cavs in the moment. But just keep an eye on this designated rookie extension rule as it comes forward, and just something to keep an eye on as negotiations unfold over the next few years.
Real quick question. Can they rip up Donovan Mitchell's contract before that player option to get him off
I asked that and didn't really get a clear answer on it. I don't know. I don't know. Typically in the NBA, you go to the end of the deal,
right?
And then he would opt out. Now, another that no one wants to talk about this. He could come to them after 2 years and say, "Listen, I got a year left. I'm not coming back.
Right?
Do with me what you will. I'm not coming back." And then the Cavs have a decision to make: do you ride it out and let him leave as a free agent, decline the player option and leave, or do you try and trade him and recoup some of those assets?
Depends where they are as a team.
It depends where they are as a team. That obviously probably is a worst case scenario. Fans don't want to think about that, but it's a viable option that he comes to them in 2 years and says, "I'm that next year is going to be my last year," and now they have a decision to make.
We keep talking about where they are now, and they need a small forward, and they need another 3-and-D guy. Is that something that's not going to happen right now, or are they going to try to find that between what they got and just?
No, it's not going to happen. This is who they have for the most part.
Yeah,
I think Isaac Okoro is going to be the starting small forward. According to the numbers I crunched, their average starting age in the starting lineup next year is going to be 23.3 years old, which is staggeringly young for how good they could be.
For a contender.
For a contender.
What do you have something in mind where you'd like to see them? Are they an Eastern Conference semifinal team, or this is a disappointment, or too early to label it?
Yeah, I think the East is just absolute meat grinder right now. And I'm still a big. You have teams. Chicago, after LeBron left, Chicago went from the 8 seed to the 1 seed. But for the most part, you need to get there first and just figure it out. And that's why last year was so kind of not devastating, but disappointing.
That they didn't get that playoff
That they
series.
didn't get that playoff series.
Yeah.
Because what they got, the play-in is nothing like the actual playoffs. So I mean, get to the playoffs and see what happens this year. And then next year, I think next year the expectations really mount.
Yeah, it's so hard in the NBA to go from not making the playoffs to a deep playoff run. It's so progressive. You got to take those steps.
Yeah.
It's just part. Look at Jordan and the steps that he had to take before he
Even
finally
Golden
got over
State,
the hump.
even Golden State
too.
got there.
You're right.
And
yeah.
then exploded.
And LeBron went through it too.
LeBron went through it too.
It takes time. The good news for Cavs fans is the pieces are here. Now you feel like, okay, here it is. You got to put it in the oven, let them bake, let them become what they're going to become. But I want to know if you think this statement is hyperbole, because I said it on our Channel 3 show, and I did hear from some people that were like, well, no, I don't agree with that. For me, this is the most excitement I've had about a non-LeBron Cavs team since the early 90s. Is that hyperbole?
No, I think that what other team
I've
could
never
there
been
be?
excited about a Cavs team.
I
since
haven't
the
either.
90s.
I haven't either.
I mean, I love
They've
some of
been
those
terrible.
90s teams,
Yeah,
but
the 90s teams were fun, but I feel like for the first
But you
time,
said since the 90s teams.
yeah, I haven't been as excited about a Cavs team.
Right, since
that
Doherty,
didn't have
Price,
LeBron James,
since
since
those
Doherty,
teams.
Price, Hot
Right.
Rod.
Right, yeah.
And
Agreed.
it kind of, if you take the LeBron era out of the Cavs history, it's one of the most abysmal franchises that's not named the Clippers ever.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that was by design, especially the first time he left. They didn't want to be any good. They wanted to
Right.
be bad. They wanted to stockpile picks. But they haven't won a playoff series without LeBron since '93.
There you go.
Something
I
like that.
think they.
I
How
think
many
that's
playoff
right.
series wins do they have? Period, without LeBron, not many.
No, because the miracle at Richfield was a first-round series.
Yeah.
It was best of 5, I think, and I think that was it
Yeah.
until those '90s teams.
Had they ever been to the Eastern Conference Finals?
No.
No, not
Yeah.
without
Without
LeBron.
Not without.
I thought they did in the '90s. Would they get bounced in the second round by
I
Chicago?
No,
don't
I
think
think they always lost in the semis to
second
the
right,
Bulls.
to the
Yeah.
Bulls.
So I
Right.
mean, man, it's been slim pickings.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to label this team as a team that should make a finals, an Eastern Conference Finals. But I would think that in time, particularly if they can figure out the Rubik's Cube, the math Rubik's Cube, I would think that this core group can get them there.
Yeah.
Well, they've
in
got
time.
they've
It
got
gives them a chance.
They've got 3
Yeah.
years for sure with Donovan Mitchell if they
Right.
want to. If in like we said, depending on what he says in year 3 of I'm leaving, do what you want with me, but I'm not coming back, or maybe he says I love it here and I'm willing to stay. We'll wait and see. But he's got time here. But that's what I wrote last week is they have all the pieces to win a championship without the overwhelming pressure to do it right now. When LeBron was here, it was you got to do it right now, this
right.
year.
The window, we know that the window has a couple of years on it.
And a team like Brooklyn is a veteran team. That thing could implode at any minute.
Yes.
Milwaukee,
And that's not long term either.
No. And Milwaukee has contract decisions they have to make coming up. Al Horford has a year left on his deal in Boston. So these really, really good teams in the East right now, not necessarily going to be really, really good 2 or 3 years from now. The Cavs have a little bit of time.
Yeah, and to your point about missing the playoffs a year ago, that cannot be overstated because
It's huge.
getting the experience in whether it's the NFL or baseball or the NBA, as much as they think that the competition is as high as it can go, everybody after they go through that first playoff series or game, they always say the same thing. Wow.
Not to mention,
It was ratcheted up.
Not to mention, JB Bickerstaff needs the experience.
Sure.
Of being a head
He does.
They
coach.
shouldn't
Big
even be in the.
close games.
They shouldn't be. They got to avoid the play-in round this year.
Well, at
they
least they
should.
got Kevin Love and Donovan Mitchell played in the playoffs, so at least they have
That's
some
true. They have
veterans
some
in
playoff
leadership.
experience.
Yeah.
By the way, I think Love's role on this team moving forward. I mean, for 1 year, I think it's very important that they have a guy like him around.
And Ricky Rubio's playing
Yes.
the
Rubio
playoffs.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wouldn't expect much out of Rubio this year.
You wouldn't?
ACL.
He's
Well,
not going to
January,
be back. Yeah, he'll
February,
be back
maybe?
in January.
Yeah.
First year back from ACL.
Yeah.
Tough.
I think next year, and again, I don't want to keep you have every reason to be excited about this Cavs team this year, but I think
They're
next
still a year off.
I think next year is really going to be ramped up expectations.
All right, I'm thrilled. I can't wait. All right, we're taking a 22-hour